Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Washington County Board of Education. I call this meeting to order. We have all members present, and our student member is also present this evening, so we do have a quorum. Board member Linda Murray will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. If you'll all stand with me, please. Stand with us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we'll have approval of this evening's agenda. If there's a motion, please.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Is there any discussion of the agenda? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, we have a unanimous vote of approval, and the student member concurs. We'll move to approval of the minutes.
Mrs. Williams, I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the closed session minutes dated Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Besford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of the closed session of August 3rd, 2021? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, we have 6 affirmative. Any abstentions? 1 abstention.
2.
Oh, 2. I'm sorry. So we have 5 affirmatives, 2 abstentions. Thank you.
On our second motion, I move for the approval of the business meeting minutes dated Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Westford. We have a motion to approve the business meeting minutes of August 3rd, 2021. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of the business meeting of August 3rd, 2021? No? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, we have 6 affirmative. Any abstentions? 1 abstention. So both sets of minutes stand approved. At this time, we'll have public comment. We have 1 individual who has signed up to speak, and that is Mr. Fred Chavez. Mr. Chavez here?
No. That's Sam Key.
No, it's Fred. It's a different person.
Oh. I thought he wasn't speaking.
Good evening, Mr. Chavez. By board policy, you have 5 minutes to speak. We have a timekeeper here, Mr. Bickford. He'll show you, I'll let him tell you what the signs
He's
are.
got about 30 seconds left, and that means time's up.
All right. Thank you. I'm Fred Chavis. I'm a former teacher at Northern Middle. I'm also a former head coach at for track and field at Williamsport High School, and I'm also vice president of the NAACP out here. I sent you all a letter yesterday evening in regards to your mask mandate that you all discussed in a previous meeting on August 6th, I believe. And I just wanted to read a little bit of the letter, just a short part of it. So Washington County's transmission rates are among the highest in Maryland according to CDC rankings, and the cases continue to rise. Meanwhile, the vaccine is not yet available for children under 12. There is now an increased risk of infection rates and mortality rates due to the Delta variant of COVID-19. Individual parents and guardians may think that they are making a decision for just their children or their child when they send them to school this fall without protection, but it is the whole school system and community that could be affected, and in turn, every child under 12 is also at risk. This is why a decision of such magnitude for a diverse population of students and families should be made by a trusted authority. It is imperative to be proactive and use preventative measures as identified by our health professionals to reduce incident rates. I came here to speak on the mask mandate because I felt that the decision that you all made with the mask on August 6th was not inclusive of all of our communities. We have a very diverse group of kids, parents, teachers alike, and a decision to not have the mask would have led to drastic issues in our schools. And we went through a lot last year as a teacher, taking on the burden of trying to make things work through a pandemic. And so I saw earlier, received an email that you all had set a mask mandate. That's why I came here today, just to let you all know that, again, I am Fred Chavis, I am Vice President of the NAACP. We will continue to hold you all accountable because you are Board of Ed members, you are the superintendent, and you all are servants of the community. And we hope to ensure that you all continue to look after the best interests of all of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chavis. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during public comment? Okay. Is there any board response to public comment? At this time, I'd like to say that in the days since the board's August 3rd meeting, the board has received many, many emails. On behalf of my colleagues, we appreciate the feedback from all stakeholders. We thank you for making your opinions, your concerns, and your suggestions known to us. I might add that emails that we receive from our stakeholders become public record. Thank you. At this time, we have no old business to conduct, so we'll move directly to new business. We have one item for consideration, and that is the consent agenda for this evening. We have Mr. Scott Bakedel, Supervisor of Purchasing, presenting. Good evening, Mr. Bakedel.
Good evening, President Williams, members of the board, Dr. Michael. Tonight, I have two items for your review. The Purchasing Review Committee did review these items, and they are being recommended for approval, and staff is available if you have any additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bakedel. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve renewals for both the Library Management System software and Follett Destiny Resource Manager to Follett Corporation at a total cost of $74,258.36, and snow removal services to the listed vendors and rates indicated on the summary of renewal.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Do we have any discussion, any questions for Mr. Bakeville at this time?
Yeah, I just have one quick question. For the snow removal, I mean, we have quite a bit of equipment that we pay for the county, and, you know, that would be available for a lot of this. Is there a reason why we contract this out instead of using resources we currently have?
I was going to say, I think I could answer that. You know, we obviously have 46 sites that we're trying to clear snow from. Probably a little bit more than that by the time we count central office, planetarium, the bus lot, all those areas. So we do a combination of contractors and our own equipment. I think we have about 30, 35 people that go out with plows and equipment. I don't know how many acres of blacktop and roads that we have, but we have 1,100 acres, obviously, in the various sites. We're trying to plow it in a timely manner and get school reopened. Unfortunately, in Washington County, as most of you are familiar with, our snows are at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock, 6, stop at 7, 8 o'clock, and we're trying to make a decision to get schools up and running, and we need to get things cleared quickly. The contractors are only paid when they work, and they're paid by various amounts of snow. Generally, is how it's set up. Obviously, the deeper the snow, the more they're paid to clear the same surface area. So it's a combination of their forces plus our forces. There's a whole plow team. They meet as we get closer to the fall, October, 1st of November, they'll meet and strategize. But we do have a large force, including all of our custodians, that have to clear sidewalks, parking areas, things like that. So it's a combination of both. But there's a significant force. Again, I don't want to put a number to it tonight. If Jeff was here, he probably could. But 25, 30 plows, plus tractors, plus the backhoe, plus bobcat, snow blowers. We got a combination of everything. Big Blue that has a gigantic snow blade on. We have a pusher for the backhoe. So it's a combination effort.
And I figured that is the case, and I mean, honestly, I remember last year, obviously, we had quite a bit of snow, and I stopped over to South High just to see what those portables looked like, and there were a couple fellows over there that were clearing out. I mean, for me, when I cleared off my driveway, it felt like 14 feet, and they're sitting there doing it the whole day. I don't know how they do it. They do backbreaking work to do that, so I definitely appreciate them doing that.
Any other questions? Okay, then we're voting on Mr. Bickford's motion to approve this evening's consent agenda. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, we have 7 affirmative votes. The student member concurs. Motion carries. Okay, it's time for the superintendent's report. Superintendent's update. Dr. Michael, to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. Just want to make a report to the community, and we'll have a further detailed report a little bit into the fall regarding summer school, but we just successfully completed 8 weeks of summer school. We had thousands of children involved in multiple camps. It was a very, very exciting experience, I think, for our students. It was a big expansion over what we traditionally do, made somewhat possible as a result of the ARP ESSER funding. I think the students not only learned a lot, but I think our staff learned a lot as well. And we'll be adjusting our summer schools over the next couple of years, particularly while we have this additional funding available, and fine-tuning our summer school efforts so we can best meet the needs of our students with summer school. I do have a brief video that we want to share regarding summer school. I can tell Dr. Will is already excited about seeing this.
Summer school programming this year is unique because we've been able to offer so many additional opportunities for our students. This year, we were able to use grant funding to be able to provide opportunities for students at every elementary and middle school. Some of our high-interest camps include sports, such as basketball and football. In addition, we've had cooking camp and we've had our outdoor camps. We've worked with robotics and computer science and coding and some basic engineering. Students get so excited into the activity, they don't even realize that they're learning the math and the literacy that go along with it. That's been our general theme, and the feedback that we're getting has been very positive.
So in basketball camp, we are doing very basic drills like dribbling, passing, shooting, but we are also writing about our favorite players and looking at stats and how it all works. We had to really focus on the questions that they gave us. So some of them were like reading questions that you would get on a test, and we had to really think about how to answer them.
It's different because last year we didn't do summer camp. We had to actually sit inside one classroom and learn all subjects, but this year we got to do sports and things that we really like to do. This is my second year doing summer school, and it helped me get ready for school start.
It's prepared me to do good in 6th grade.
We are expecting to serve over 10,000 students in our summer programming this year. That requires a record number of staff. We have bus drivers, food nutrition service workers, we have our paraprofessionals and our teachers and administrators all working together to support our summer programming. It's amazing when we all come together what we can accomplish for the good of our students.
Certainly want to thank our ESP, our teachers, our administrators, most importantly our parents and students for having their students participate in summer school. I had the opportunity to go out to, and I won't be able to name all the places I went, but Under the Big Top was one of the themes that one of the schools had an opportunity to go out and read with students and see what they were doing. I got to watch a play that in 3 days the students were there participating, learning about the play, and then they performed the play every Thursday. A different group of students as they came through summer school had the opportunity to watch that. Just an opportunity, much like we do on regular school visits, to get a chance to see our students and teachers in action, and I think it was a great summer. And again, very successful. I thank again the staff, even the administrative staff here, Dr. Willow, Dr. Pugh, others that helped pull together everything for summer school. It was quite an undertaking this year. The only other thing I'd like to report tonight is obviously everybody's anxious for the start of the new school year. Earlier this evening, we released a very short, I think about a 3-minute video, where we provided updated information to the community regarding particularly our masking policy coming up for the start of the new school year. And I'm going to go through that similar information, maybe just in a little bit more detail, and I'll be glad to try to entertain any questions I can answer today. To the community, I want to assure you by Thursday, we will provide written communication that'll provide a great deal more detail, that'll answer questions, how things are different than last year, exactly what we mean by some of the statements we make tonight, some more information about quarantining, what happens if your child has COVID, those types of things. So staff would pull up the first slide. Maybe I'm in charge of that. I am. I'm sorry. Here in Washington County, again, so summer school, 8 weeks of summer school went very well. We did not have significant issues with COVID. We did not have students wearing masks. Everything appeared to be very normal. As of July 1st, the day that the governor lifted the mask mandate, where we no longer had to wear a mask, we were in the low transmittal category where we had less than 10 cases out of 7. So they had the 7-day case rate up for 100,000. We were under 10, and that put us in this blue or low transmission category. But from July 7th to July 13th, we moved up into the moderate level, which puts us between 10 and 50 cases. Just a couple weeks later, on August 4th, we moved into substantial, which was 50 to 100 cases over a 7-day period. And just over this weekend, we moved into the high, which means over 100 cases in 7 days. So we've had a significant change over the last 5 to 6 weeks from July 1st, when we were celebrating being in the blue, to where we are today. Last year, quarantining rules were very clear. It didn't matter masked or unmasked, and at that point we were under the mask mandate of the governor here in the state of Maryland. But the quarantine rules nationwide were, if you're in contact with a positive COVID individual, masked or unmasked, and you were within 6 feet of that individual for up to 15 minutes during a 24-hour period, you were quarantined. So last year, as we moved into November, we had only a portion of our students back. I think we were in stage 3. We brought our stage 2, stage 3 students back. And within about a week or two period, the numbers started to escalate. And as those numbers escalated, our quarantines escalated substantially. And it made it very difficult to maintain school at that point with the quarantines. To illustrate this a little bit, let's assume this is a class of 24 students. Maybe it's 25, I don't have, maybe it's 30. I gotta count my numbers up here, but we're 3 feet apart in this room. Some masked, some unmasked, which was our rule up until just a little while ago. So we could kind of anticipate some children would be masked, some children wouldn't be masked. If we had a student that was identified, let's say in this seat, that was positive and was unmasked, unfortunately what would happen would be, as a result of just that one child, all of these children would be quarantined. And that is just one child in one classroom. If that child was in a middle school or a high school and they moved to another class with another mix of students, or even the same group of students, but set in a different location, they would quarantine more students and more students and more students. And then on the bus, and then at lunch, and then at the bus stop. So you can see very quickly where one student could cause Washington County to quarantine a significant number of students without a mask mandate. If you look at all students wearing a mask, the CDC has a new rule this year. If students are masked, they could be as close as 3 feet and not be quarantined. Last year was 6 feet, masked or unmasked. This year is a school exception only for school-age students. Students could be 3 feet or more apart and they will not be quarantined. So in this classroom, if all the students are 3 feet apart, again, this assumes we don't gather up in groups or whatever, and we don't come any closer than that for a period of 15 minutes over a 24-hour period, when this same student, even though they're wearing a mask, when that same student has COVID, that student is the only one that is quarantined. the only one that's quarantined. So again, if we think back to our other group, see if we're going to be able to back up. With that one student in the room, in this example, unmasked, but other children masked, regardless of their mask or unmasked, even though they're all 3 feet apart, with that one student in the room, we lose that many students just in that one class, just in that one period. Again, not counting the bus, not counting lunch, not counting that this is a middle school, high school student that moves every 60 to 90 minutes to another class. So tonight, in a video clip that we sent to everyone, we updated folks that we are planning to go to mandatory masking. It will go completely into effect on August 30th, our first day back for students. We're going to be providing some more information on Thursday in writing regarding students that might be coming before August 30th. We'll have information regarding staff and what this means for staff. Now, one thing with the CDC rule this year, nothing's changed for staff. So it is still a 6-foot rule for staff, even a 6-foot rule with staff and student. So if a staff member's within 6 feet of a student, they would be quarantined if they're not vaccinated. But we're going to provide a great deal of clarity to this, we hope, on Thursday. I think we'll continue to have ongoing questions. My goal was clear in the video. My goal is to return us to optional masking as soon as possible. But right now, with the transmission rate of us being up in the, not only in the red, but substantially above the minimum amount to get the red, I think we'd be looking at a situation where we constantly be quarantining students. So that disruption to the classroom where I started with 25 or 30 students and suddenly I lose 8 or 10, nothing's to say that in 2 weeks when the students return that I won't lose another 8 or 10. Or while those students are out, another student might have COVID and might require quarantine. So this is not a debate for me about masking or not masking. It's not, I'm not going to get into the debates about the science and lack of science and the research and lack of research. This for Washington County right now is about quarantining and trying to maintain a learning environment where our children that are already behind, based on what we had to go through last year, to maintain that positive learning environment. And that's what we're attempting to do with this new rule. As soon as we get out of the red zone, or if we experience very little students involved in COVID cases, we'll certainly reevaluate our situation with masking. Again, my goal is to return to optional masking as soon as it's reasonable to do so. And with that, I'd be glad to entertain any questions. Jeff Prue, my guru on all this tonight, is not available. He has some personal business with his daughters, but taking them back to college, a very wonderful thing. But we will get together as a team over the next day and a half. We'll meet with principals and make sure we're clear on our expectations in the next couple of days. We'll also meet with the association leadership and get their input on our written communication on Thursday. And what I would say to the community as well, I think you can anticipate things will continue to evolve. I don't know if it's for better or worse, whether those are the right terminology or not, but as things change, we will have to adapt, and we will adapt. And let's all hope we very quickly return to the blue and this is behind us. Back, I do know, because we follow this every day, at one point in Washington County in July, we were at 0.5. We're at 0.5% positivity and less than 1 case per 100,000 for a daily rate. And that's what I hope to see us return to quickly. So with that, I'd be glad to try to entertain any questions. I really want to put this down in writing, so I'm going to be a little bit vague maybe with some of my answers because I want them to be exact. I want them to be in writing, and then we'll certainly try to continue to clarify as we go forward. Mr. Gasser, I don't know, Mrs. Williams, you want to call?
Mr. Gasser, go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate your statement. I just have a couple quick questions. The first one would be, did we have any COVID students or teachers over summer school this year?
I would say during summer school, it was very limited. The number of students that were identified, again, we were in very, very low positivity in cases. But weekly, we have had staff members and students identified as COVID. Now, most of the students that I'm aware of are students that were not in attendance of summer school. Staff members that I'm aware of, I probably would not know about 10-month staff, but I'm aware of 12-month staff or staff that worked summer school or participated in professional development. And every week we had several cases. In fact, this is another thing I would say to the community. We have had a number of staff members that are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, that have been tested positive for COVID and are symptomatic. So I would caution the community in putting too much faith in the vaccines. I think they're working great. I think they're lessening the symptoms. I think it's prevented a lot of people from getting COVID, but it is certainly possible to get COVID even though you're vaccinated. So I would encourage our community members, our parents, our staff members to always be cautious and be mindful that just because you're vaccinated or even just because you're wearing a mask, there is no 100% shield from getting COVID, from what we're observing from staff. Not a scientific observation, just I know people are vaccinated. We were there, we saw them vaccinated, and I know they have COVID, and I know they're symptomatic.
Did we have a lot of students last year in school year that have COVID?
During the school year, as you recall, we went out in November as the rates were going up. In November, during that time period, we had students greater than 6 feet apart because we only had a minimum number of students back. In the spring, we had a minimum number of students. We were very successful, I would say, at avoiding the spread of COVID. Because of our protocols, because of our cleaning measures, all those things are still in place. Because of our filtration systems, I think right behind the podium over there is one of our white filtration systems that are they're designed to kill the COVID virus. We have those in every classroom. So I think because of all our precautions, I think we found out a lot of children had COVID before they entered the building, and obviously they stayed home. But the spread of COVID was very, very minimum, and that is our goal for this year as well. The difference between last year and this year, I anticipate having nearly 100% of the students back in the building, or we'll have 100% of our student body back, whatever that student body is. In the spring, we only had about 85–90% of elementary, probably about 70% of middle school, and about 60% of high school. So we'll be back to full capacity as we enter the classrooms this fall.
So there'll be masks on students in all parts of the building, inside and out?
Only inside for right now. Only
just
inside. Again, my counsel would be outside. Let's be thoughtful about, children out running around. It's not likely they're going to be next to anybody for 15 minutes. But let's be mindful of that. If we gather somewhere or sit down for a picnic outside and we're all in masks and we're within 3 feet, I think we're asking for trouble. So, but outside, right now, there's no masking requirement. Right now, again, I qualify all these things. Right now, for our sporting events, spectators, and again, all this will be in writing on Thursday, will be allowed to attend unmasked for outside events. For inside events, and again, we'll clarify all this on Thursday. I anticipate for inside events, our spectators will be masked.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Gupta.
I just had a question. I know previously you stated that there would be some sort of program for high schoolers or an ability for them to get the vaccine through the school. I think you mentioned that at the previous meeting. Do you know what those programs are specifically?
Well, we provided an opportunity for 16-year-olds and up to get the vaccine during the school day. We worked that out with Meritus, particularly during a time period when vaccines were still a little bit difficult to get a hold of. At this point, I think any further vaccinations, I would leave that to the parents and working out with their doctor or to go to a vaccine clinic. What we discovered, most of the parents wanted to be with their child even though they were 16 years old in case they had a reaction. So I think it would be up to the parents at this point. I don't anticipate that we're going to hold any clinics at our school sites. Again, I think the parents are going to want to be there, especially for children if they get a vaccine for children under 12. I think we can anticipate even more parents. So at that point, why not at a vaccine clinic rather than at school?
Thank you.
That helpful? Thank you.
There are vaccine clinics around. I know today the Commission on Aging had one at one of the locations. I think it was the Fairground Park. So for anyone who is 12 and older. So if you're looking for them, I guess they would call the health department to find that.
There's a list of those available at the health department. I think Meredith is still putting on some on-sites. I think it's even happened in Sheets, an area like that. I think they've, gone out certainly to reach out to the public.
Dr. Michael, as a school system, are we doing anything to provide vaccinations for our new hires or for those who did not take advantage of the vaccine when we were offering it to teachers and staff back earlier this year?
In the spring, we had what I would call 5 last calls. So we got vaccines and we didn't think we were going to be able to get a hold of more. As we got a hold of more, we encouraged more staff to take the vaccine. We did that up to 5 times. At this point, I would have to check with HR if we're encouraging new staff members or helping them understand where they can get the vaccine. But again, I think as adults, I think we're all pretty aware of where the vaccine and it's available. And I would encourage adults to make an adult decision. Certainly, what I continue to hear, if you have the vaccine and you get COVID, it definitely lessens, I say definitely. For the most part, what I've heard is it lessens the severity of the virus. In many cases, you might not even know you have the virus if you have the vaccine. And you can be asymptomatic. You also can be asymptomatic without the virus, I assume. So I think this is something that's here and it's going to be with us for a couple of years yet. We're going to have to continue to work together as a community. I know there's a wide range of feelings on all this, as I indicated. Again, I'm not into any of that debate. I'm all about we need 100% of our children here every day they possibly can be here. Our attendance declined over the last number of years, not even related to COVID, and we see the academic difference in students that attend school every day and for those that don't attend school every day. So I want to make sure we have a system in place that we're set up to have our children be successful and be in school every day. I wouldn't want to needlessly quarantine children and have them miss a school day when they're not sick.
Any other questions? Anything further?
No, I think, August 3rd is our first day of school. I think our bus routes and schedules are posted. There's places online that you can find all those things. If you're having difficulty with that, certainly check in with your local principal. We have a couple of schools that are still under construction and buttoning up from some HVAC projects, portable projects, and things like that. We're optimistic all those things will be ready in time. I know teachers are a little bit anxious, some of those that haven't been able to get in their classrooms up to this point, but by the first day of students arrive back, we're hoping everything's back to normal. And I certainly wish everybody a very successful first day of school. We've had a great summit so far this week. We have, I think, about 1,000 teachers back 4 days early this year to participate in a wide variety of professional development. Day 2 of that, and from what I've been able to see, very little of it, more yesterday than today. It's been going very well. We have 2 more days of that, tomorrow and Thursday. Then next week, our teachers are all back, and all 10-month employees are back next Monday. And the following week, on August 30th, we'll be welcoming all students back. We have some link crew and some other activities next week, some back-to-school nights. We'll be clear in our communication regarding back-to-school nights about masking and things like that as well. Other than that, just want to wish everybody a great start to the school year. I know it's year 3 or part of year 3 with COVID, but we're going to make it work. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you just mention Link Crew? Do we still have that program at the schools?
I think we still call it Link Crew. It's what I call it anyhow. But yes, it's where we help students get acclimated coming into 6th grade to 9th grade. Yeah, all of our schools are still involved in that as we're bringing
Williamsport still has it?
As far as I know, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Okay. At this time, we'll have Dr. Gary Willow, who is our Associate Superintendent for Administration and Leadership, come forward with this evening's personnel actions.
Good evening, President Williams, members of the board, Dr. Michael. I'm here to seek your approval for personnel decisions that were discussed earlier in closed session.
Thank you, Dr. Willow. Is there a motion?
President Williams, I move for the approval of the personnel actions that were discussed earlier today in closed session.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Any questions for Mr. Willow? Okay. All those in favor of approval of the personnel actions as discussed earlier in closed session, please raise your hand. All right, we have a unanimous affirmative vote with the student member who does not vote on personnel. Thank you, Mr. Gupta. That's just a little reminder for you. Okay, we'll move now to reports to the board. Thank you, Dr. Willow. Dr. Zentmeyer, would you like to begin down there with curriculum and instruction for committee reports?
Curriculum and instruction met here yesterday, and we previewed the new social studies and AP Lang text, and they are awesome. We are also updated on ABLE, our virtual K-12 school, and the use of acceleration to close the learning gap. It is going to be an exciting year, one I'm really grateful to be a part of. Our next meeting will be here Monday, September 20th at 3 p.m.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Finance Committee, Mr. Evans.
Nothing new. Next meeting will be, I forget what day it is, one of the days at the end of the month here.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Guessford, Facilities?
Facilities is going to try to meet in August on the 31st at 9 a.m. We will be checking with the department heads to make sure that's still okay. So if anything's changed, we'll let everyone know.
Okay, thank you. That's August 31st at 9 a.m. Okay, Mr. Bickford.
Policies meeting August 31st at 1 p.m. here at CES. I'm assuming here in the auditorium.
Thank you. Mrs. Murray.
Human Resources will be meeting here Tuesday, September 14th at 4 p.m., where we will be getting an update on hiring.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gupta, anything for student government?
There was a MASC, Maryland Association of Student Councils convention, and WCAC, Washington County Association of Student Councils, sent a delegation, including me, where we talked about various things.
Thank you very much. All right, so that's it for our committee reports. Under miscellaneous business, we always have future agenda items. You should have a list coming up in October. We will have a 2021 summer school report. And on October 19th, our second meeting in October, we will be looking at our legislative core values and legislative priorities. If you have an item that you would like to see placed on a future agenda, please let a member of the agenda planning committee know. Thank you. At this time, we'll have board member comments. Mr. Gupta, would you like to begin down there?
Sure. I just want to, I'm looking forward to starting this new school year with all of our students back in schools. And I also encourage everybody to get vaccinated if they have not. I haven't vaccinated, and many of my fellow students have been vaccinated, and I do think it provides adequate protection against COVID-19.
Thank you. Mrs. Murray?
Yes, I was able to attend the Teacher Induction Academy on Wednesday, August 11th at E. Russell Hicks. My grandson, Evan, who's a fifth grader at Lincolnshire, introduced Dr. Willow, and we stayed to listen to Dr. Willow's talk. It was very interesting. He did a great job. It was really nice to see all the enthusiasm in the room. And then Friday, August 13th, I attended the Farm Bureau breakfast at Delightful Dairy in Williamsport. And I was there along with Dr. Michael to represent the Board of Ed, and that was very interesting. And then I just want to say I wish everyone a happy and safe first day of school.
Thank you. Mr. Bickford?
Nothing for me.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stalford?
Nothing for me.
Thank you. Mr. Guessford?
I have nothing for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Guessford. Mr. Evans?
Yeah, just want to welcome everyone back to school. I know wearing the mask for a lot of people is not something that they were looking forward to. I understand the reasoning behind it. It definitely makes a lot of sense. I just, I wish it didn't have to happen. That's all I'm gonna say at this time.
Evans. Dr. Zentmeyer?
A lot of times we talk about our kids now, but sometimes we wonder where are they after they leave us. And this past week, I had the opportunity to see a former North High student who's a friar in New York lead a youth retreat of one-act plays. It was the culminating activity. And one of the one-act plays that they wrote was about a 16-year-old Italian youth who died in 2006 at 16, the Blessed Carlo Acutis, and his life's goal, his short life's goal, was to remind people that we're all born original, but some of us die as a photocopy. So as we embrace this new year, let's look for that original purpose that we were born with and go with it. And the last thing I have to say is my grandchildren are so excited to be back to school, especially the new clothes and the new shoes. But then they're elementary.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. I'd just like to wish all staff, all students, a great start to the school year. I think it's wonderful that we're back to in-person learning. All of our students who want to be back will be back in person. So I hope all have a good start and a great school year. Dr. Michael? Okay. Colleagues, anyone else have anything before we adjourn? No? Then we'll just call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.